The differences between Eastern and Western culture are easy to see. From food, clothing, religious beliefs, housing, education, entertainment, and so on and so on. The way people go about living their daily lives in the East usually isn't so different from how we live our lives in the West, albeit with some key differences. But have you ever wondered if there are any differences in stand-up comedy? Worry not, because today we are going to learn about the bizarre world of a Japanese form of storytelling you probably haven't heard of before. This is Rakugo. Rakugo originates from the 9th to 10th century, apparently created by an unknown number of Buddhist monks to make their sermons more interesting. The stories themselves, often called hanashi, can be traced back to a separate 13th century story collection called Yuji Sui Monogatari. As time progressed, the stories changed from short stories, called konobashi, to long monologues, presumably because of the requests of the daimyo, the feudal lord, who sought entertainment from these storytellers. Due to the appearance of the merchant class called shoin during Japan's Edo period, Rakugo became common knowledge to middle and lower classes. Around this time, those who could perform a Rakugo story were referred to as hanashika, nowadays called Rakugoka, which means person of the falling word. Within Rakugo, there exist several ranks, which help to show how skilled someone is at Rakugo performances. The lowest rank is Zenza, which means opening performance. These are apprentices who are still in training. The second rank is called Futatsume, which means second place. The third and final rank is called Shinuchi, and at this rank, a Rakugoka is considered a master of Rakugo. They aren't required to practice as much and can take on apprentices if they wish. The lower ranked Rakugoka must refer to anyone of Shinuchi rank as Shisho, which means teacher or mentor. In order to become a Shinuchi, a Rakugoka must become a part of a Rakugo association, also called Rakugo Kyokai, which consists of already established Shinuchi who organize performances and decide if a particular Futatsume is deemed ready to become a Shinuchi. There are two different styles of Rakugo performances depending on where the Rakugoka learned to perform: Osaka-style Rakugo and Tokyo-style Rakugo, also called Osaka-ben or Edo-ben. Osaka-ben is unique because of the use of a small table called a kendai. On top of the kendai are a pair of wooden blocks called kobayashi, which are banged on the table to signify either the beginning of the story or a change in the scene. Osaka-style Rakugo also typically perform a short music piece on either a shamisen, similar to a guitar, or a taiko drum at certain parts of the story. Tokyo-style Rakugo does not require the kendai or the kobayashi. Arguably the biggest difference in the two styles of Rakugo is advertising. Typically, a Rakugoka who studied Osaka-ben would announce what stories they would be performing weeks ahead of the actual performance, since mentioning the stories in pamphlets or posters could potentially bring in a bigger audience. However, a Rakugoka who studied Edo-ben would typically decide what story they would tell after getting on stage and could see the audience. This was a safety measure in case there were any samurai in the audience, and the Rakugoka didn't want to tell a story that detrimented the samurai or put them in a bad light. Now, what typically surrounds a Rakugoka when they are performing? In most cases, Rakugo is performed at a commercial theater called Yosei. The actual Rakugo is performed on a stage called a koza. The Rakugoka is required to sit in the middle of the stage in the seiza sitting position, and stay in that position for the entirety of their performance. Microphones are placed in front of the Rakugoka in order to help project their voice, although it's not exactly known when they were added. Rakugoka are required to wear a traditional set of Japanese clothing called a yukata. The only items a Rakugoka is allowed to use as props during the performance are a small paper fan called a senzu and a small cloth called tengui. As the Rakugoka comes on stage, a small piece of music is played on a shamisen to accompany them. Now, I think we should talk about one of the most important aspects of Rakugo, the stories themselves, and the way they are performed. The natures of these stories can be widely different. They can be light-hearted stories such as Jugemu, the story of a young boy with a very long name.
ジュゲム五行のすり切れ海砂利水魚の水魚松雲来松風来松クーネルところに住むところやぶら工事のブラ工事パイポの修輪岩のグーリンダイのポンポコピーポンポコナーの超救命の長介。
Touching stories like Shibahama, the story of a man who works relentlessly to work with a debt it turns out he didn't have, or cruel and dark stories such as Shinigami, the story of a greedy doctor who makes a deal with a god of death who ends up taking his life. A story is only ever as good as its characters, and this is especially important in Rakugo, where every character is performed by a single person. There are a few important factors when differentiating between multiple characters: voice, facial expression, posture, and body language. The posture is important for building on a character's personality, as well as establishing which character is talking, and this is especially important in a conversation between multiple characters. Facial expression is just as important, as it shows the character's state of mind, their personality, and how they react to the situation that they are in, and how they feel about the other characters. Similar things can be said about the body language. The way a character moves can often tell the audience a lot more about the character than their words can, although this often depends on the Rakugo's ability to express emotion through movement. Next up is voice, which is essential for portraying emotion within a character. A well-versed Rakugoka makes seamless transitions between the various voices, even if they are of different ages and or genders. Now that we've gotten all the history and the details of Rakugo out of the way, let me ask you something. How much about Rakugo is known in the West? Well, until recently, basically nothing. However, it was around August of last year that the popularity of Rakugo skyrocketed. But what was it that caused this spike in popularity? Well, to answer that question, we simply must look towards a particular anime from winter of last year. Airing the 9th of January 2016, Shogun Roku Rakugo Shinju rocketed the anime community like a hurricane with an art form no one had ever heard of. The first, feature-length, 50-minute episode told the story of an ex-Yakuza member called Kyoji. He is recently released from his prison sentence and heads almost immediately to a nearby Yosei theater. His goal? To find the famous Rakugoka, Yakumo, who performed a piece in the prison Kyoji was in, which caused him to fall in love with Rakugo. Despite having never taken on the side before, Kyoji pleads with Yakumo to let him join, and something about him sparks an interest in Yakumo. So, he takes him under his wing under the stage name Yotaro, slang for idiot due to the way that Kyoji was acting. Already residing at Yakumo's household is Konatsu, Yakumo's adopted daughter, who he took in after her parents died several decades ago. After several months of training, with the help of Yakumo and Konatsu, Yotaro is learning his own style. However, he's missing something at this point, something that grabs the audience's attention to draw them in. However, it's in the middle of this dilemma that his old boss shows up at his residence, offering him his old job back. Well, he also takes his time to simultaneously insult Konatsu and Rakugo, the art which he loves. It's at this point, however, that Yakumo returns to the residence. He tells Yotaro to get ready for his evening performance, and even invites his old boss to come and see it, to prove to him just how much he loves Rakugo. Yotaro was understandably nervous before his performance. However, once he got into the swing of things, his nervousness was almost completely gone. He told the story of a bumbling thief who claimed to do things as a spur-of-the-moment thing. Yakumo takes this opportunity to explain why exactly he took in Yotaro all those months ago, claiming that it was a spur-of-the-moment thing. Yotaro's performance convinces the boss that this is where he truly belongs, and as the performance ends, he leaves without saying a word, allowing Yotaro to continue training under Yakumo. Months later, Yakumo is performing at a very big venue with a very big audience, and unfortunately, during the performance while backstage, Yotaro falls asleep, and he snores very, very loudly. This displeases Yakumo greatly, and he almost immediately casts him off, abandoning him in the snow. On his journey back, he sees the ghost of his former friend, Sukeroku, who is also Konatsu's father. A few hours later, Konatsu finds Yotaro sitting in front of the Yakumo household, shivering. He refuses to go in. However, after some convincing, he and Konatsu eventually go in and beg him to retake him as his disciple. Yakumo agrees under 3 conditions. The first, to perfect his own style. The second, to fill the void left behind by the death of his first friend. And third, to not die before him. This leads into Yakumo telling a decade-long story about how he met Sukeroku and became Yakumo. And this is just the first episode. The rest of the series, the remaining 12 episodes, are all a flashback dedicated to the story of Yakumo and Sukeroku, about their journey from novices to masters to Sukeroku's eventual death. Because the title of the show, Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju, translates to Showa and Genroku era, lover's suicide through Rakugo. So, what exactly is it that's so fascinating about Rakugo? To me, it's everything. It's the way they perform, it's the stories they tell, it's the props that they have to use, and more importantly, it's the devotion that the Rakugoka put into their performances. And I hope that through this documentary, you have learned a little something yourself. And also, you should really watch Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju. It is genuinely one of the best anime shows I have ever seen. Brilliant direction, brilliant music, brilliant characters, everything. I love it, and I hope that you enjoy it too. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rakugo, the Falling Words.